taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
I love that.
No, I know I can never get tired of it. It's awesome.
I know. I just look at your guys' hair and I think, gosh, Diana, your hair is so gorgeous in that. And Sharon, man, you look like you just had a blowout, And then I
My
have
hair
this
is so
little
blonde.
teeny tiny top knot up here. And I'm like,
And look how long your
oh,
hair is now.
I
It's so
know.
long.
I know. It's so long.
I love it.
Well, every time.
So
I look
hello.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. You should start.
We've been having technical difficulties all night.
It has been a crazy night for sure. Is Mercury in retrograde? Is something happening out there? I don't know.
Seriously, and like all my clients were in crisis this week, so there is
Oh my
something
gosh.
happening somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hello, Isn't It Romantic Book Club? Welcome to our live stream chat with Abbie Roads. We're so excited. We are live tonight in Team Source Books, Abbie's Dangerously Dark Darlings on YouTube, and inside Isn't It Romantic Book Club. We might be inside Jennie's Page Turners, but we're not 100% sure because we keep getting messages saying something's amiss there. So bear with us for that. My name is Diana Muñoz Stewart. I write romantic suspense for the strong of heart. My latest book, Hidden Justice, is out now.
Where is it?
Let me get one of these copies. Here we go.
Oh,
Okay,
it is.
Hidden
Oh,
Justice.
it
I
is
love it.
beautiful.
They've got that Amazon thing they're going on, but that's fine. And I have, and Broken Promises is out, and I have another one coming out in about a month to 5 weeks, called Fighting Fate. So it's actually June 6th, I think is the date. I should have that on the tip of my tongue. But yeah.
Very cool.
Well, hi, everyone.
Thanks.
My name is Sharon Wray. I write romantic suspense. My most current book, Love's Last Kiss, the 4th book in the Deadly Force series, is out now. I always tell people think Sexy Green Berets meets like the Dan Brown kind of mysteries. But I also write contemporary romance, and I have Mrs. Wright is only out for another couple days. She goes away. This beautiful cover goes away at the end of the month. And then I just finished, believe it or not, my first motorcycle club romance.
Oh my
that I wrote with
gosh,
a bunch of friends.
Sharon.
It's in this anthology. I know, so much fun, and it ties
What's the
both
title?
series.
Where
So this is called Wrong Side of the Tracks. Can you see him?
Wrong
It's
Side of the
March.
Tracks. Okay.
Very cool.
And it ties both my contemporary series and my suspense series together. So anyway, so
Very
cool.
cool.
Abbie's still here, but I'm going to introduce her as if she's not here. Oh, and Jennie's not here tonight, which is why we're all falling apart. So
Yes. Jennie's the glue that holds us together.
Clearly, and she must be our tech guru too, because we've never had so many technical problems. So, our beloved Abbie Roads is the best-selling author of the Fatal Dream series and the Fatal Truth series. I think she needs to update that a little bit. Her novels have been finalists in many prestigious contests. And her debut novel, Race to Darkness, was Publishers Weekly top 10 pick for fall. I remember that very well when that came out. By day, Abbie Roads, the mental health counselor, always focusing on the bright side. By night, she writes on the dark side, putting her characters through the ringer before she gives them their happily ever after. She loves a good inspirational quote, is a fan of true crime. And I have to say, I've known Abbie and I have been dear friends for a long time. So it was such a joy to read Dangerous Dreams. It's such a wonderful book. I'm so happy you're here tonight, Abbie. I'm really happy because otherwise it would have been me and Diana. And all our technical prowess.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, I loved reading this book, and I had read the prior version, and then I read it again, and I just fell all over in love with it again. I love Xander, and just the whole story is so amazing. You know what really caught me is the whole dream thing, like this idea that someone can dream these things, and then they can either come real or that they have a connection with somebody through dreams. And you've heard about this kind of thing with twins and stuff like that. So I have to ask you, did you do any of that kind of dream research when you were writing it, or?
I did a little bit. Like I think probably the biggest inspiration for the dreams thing is I have like the most vivid dreams and I've had them my whole life.
Oh, wow.
And like when I was real little, I was diagnosed with night terrors because I would just wake up all the time screaming, and like I don't think they had done a whole lot of research back then, like understanding them. And so the doctors just told my mom to just never let me watch anything scary ever. And I really didn't until like I was like 12 or 13, because like I was literally not allowed to watch it. And so it wasn't until I was like 12 or 13 that I was allowed to start watching scary stuff. And the first thing that I watched that I thought was scary was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Really?
And that's not, I thought I was like scared out of my wits at the guy reaching into his chest and like pulling, like
it is kind of scary. The melty
intense. Yeah. It's intense.
And that was snakes? The first. Yes, like that was like the first thing that like was scary that I had actually like watched. But anyway, and I still, as an adult, I have nightmares all the time, and I'm not scared of them. Like a lot of people have like PTSD nightmares, like they're very scared of them, and I'm not scared of them, but I do have nightmares all the time. And my husband, he's learned that when I'm having a nightmare in my dream, if I'm screaming in my dream, I'll be going, like and making this really weird moaning noise, and he knows to wake me up that I'm having a nightmare and I'm screaming in my dream. So like I do that all the time.
Abbie,
I had no idea, Abbie.
Yeah.
When you had, my daughter had night terrors. When you had, she would sleepwalk with them. Did you sleepwalk?
I did one time, and I remember, I don't know why, but I had come downstairs and it was like the middle of winter, and I had decided I needed to go outside and get in the family car. I was like maybe 10. Wow. I needed to get in the family car because I left my brush in there. And I needed my brush in the middle of the night out of the family car. And it's like weird. I have this odd memory of my parents sitting me down and trying to like rationalize with me about why do you need to go out to the car? And I was just like, I remember like it made such sense to me that I needed to go out to the car. Like I can remember it, that I was determined to go out to the car,
well,
and
thank God they stopped you.
Yeah, and then I would have these weird things where I would like wake up and I'd be laying in bed and like the ceiling would be like moving. Like it was just this weird, like, I think I have a weird like sleep disorder of some sort. In Shattered Dreams, the third book in this series, Helena has this, I forget what I called it. It used to be called Old Hag Syndrome was the name of it, where you would, you wake up and you can't move. And when I was little, I would have that really bad.
I didn't know there was a name for that. Yeah. I've experienced it. I had no idea there was.
Old Hag Syndrome is the old name for it. Yeah. And like, I remember waking up when I was little and I would be so petrified. I couldn't move. And I would have to like, and I was like trying to scream and like having my mouth open and just trying before I could actually like get a scream out. So like, I think that's where all the dream stuff comes from, is my own weird dream stuff. So.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I had no idea.
And where did Xander's, when he was electrocuted, that design, I don't know how else to describe it. There's a word for it. I can't remember what it is.
It's called Lichtenberg fractal pattern scarring, and it's a real thing. I just happened to be one day scrolling through Facebook, and somebody posted pictures of people who had been actually struck by lightning, and it creates this. I mean, if you're going to be scarred, you might as well have this beautiful line pattern that this makes. And I was fascinated with those pictures, and like looked it up and was looking at all these pictures of men and women who were scarred with this. And I mean, they're scarred, but it's just gorgeous. It really is very beautiful scarring. And so then I just started to, well, what if in my little brain. And that's how.
So, you know what? I noticed that you seem to have a thing for unusual looking heroes, because Xander has the lightning scar on his face and Lathan has a tattoo on his face. So what draws you to these types of unusual looking characters?
I think for this series in particular, like there's the story of Fearless and Bear, and I kind of and they wanted each hero to look physically different. Like the way Bear stands out as not being accepted into, because his like the evil of his soul is visible or whatever to people. And I guess that's my thinking, is like if they're have something on their face, then it sort of makes them stand out a little bit. You know what I mean? So like it marks them in some way, so everybody can see that they're not right.
Right. Oh, sorry, Diana. Someone asked us, our questions might not be going through in the Facebook groups. Is that the technical difficulty? It could be. We're having more technical difficulties tonight than we've ever had, with echoes and strange delays and things like that. So I'm sorry if your questions aren't going through. I don't know what to do. Maybe just keep trying, because we can't. I don't know. We've been struggling. We got on really early to fix this and we couldn't fix it. So I apologize for the questions not going through.
Somebody said Lathan was their book boyfriend, and yes, he is.
Xander's mine.
Yeah. Lathan's my favorite.
You think so? Oh, no, Xander. Xander's no, you're wrong.
You're gonna fight me over which is
I am. Yeah. I mean, Lathan's a good second.
Yeah, Lathan's my first, and then Cain from Saving Mercy, which will be called Defying Fate, is my second. Then Xander, then Thomas. So
no.
I don't know why I shouldn't have favorites. It sounds like I'm picking favorite children.
I was going to ask you what your favorite book was.
You don't feel guilty, but you're wrong.
But since you brought up the mythology on a Bear and Fearless, I have to ask you, where did you come up with that idea?
Yes.
Okay, so the whole story is completely made up. Like, there's no basis to nothing. That just is Abbie's brain. But the bear totem is the bear totem. I had a really good friend, and she had this place in Cambridge, Ohio, and I call it Sundew, Ohio, I think in the books, but it was on Sundew Road. And so I just call it Sundew, Ohio in the books because I don't want to call it a real name. So anyway, there's at the top of a hill, right before, like there's a hill, and then at the bottom of the hill is the driveway to go into this property. It was 100 acres out in the middle of nowhere. Wow. And they had carved all these trails all through there. And it was just a gorgeous private place to just go and hang out. And we would go and visit her and another friend of mine. There'd be 3 of us girls all there, and we'd just go visit twice a year, spring and fall. We would go there, and that bear was a carved giant bear, was just on the top, randomly just standing at the top of this hill, and just I would drive by him like twice a year, seeing him, and then I just think that somehow sparked that whole idea for the story. So, and
you didn't know where the bear came from?
No, I didn't know anything about it. And Paulette Forshee, she is with Cambridge Writers, and I just happened to be telling her about it. And she lives there in the town Cambridge, and she somehow knows the guy who carved the bear. Oh, and and so I guess I don't know why he put it there, but he carved the bear, and I guess somebody it's been there forever, but I think somebody recently, or something happened to it. Somebody hit it with a car or something happened, and it's no longer there. I know. And it's like, I wish it would be like in my books where it just lives forever and never goes away. So.
Yeah, that's neat though. That's a neat place. I can't imagine 100 acres, and I have 10, and I'm like, this is overwhelming.
Yeah, it was so neat. It was so neat because my friend, her husband was a preacher, but they were kind of racy. And so she would say, it's 100 acres. Nobody's there. You can get naked and walk around the trail naked. Like, have you ever walked in the country naked before? And I'm like, no, I haven't, but that sounds intriguing. So my husband and I once went there, just the 2 of us, and we thought, hey, well, they walk around naked, so let's try this.
What happened? Did you do it?
Yeah, we did it. And then of course the gas company drove in as we were doing it. And like there we are running naked across the driveway to go right behind the hot tub.
Oh my gosh.
That's pretty horrible.
That's got to go
Yeah.
in a book. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's what you
gosh.
get for walking around naked out in the middle of nowhere.
Don't do
Oh
it.
my
There's
gosh.
always somebody.
There's always,
Exactly.
right?
Abby,
So-
was this? Oh, I'm sorry, Diana. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, you spent like all of us many years unpublished, and you wrote many, many books. And I know a lot of them were up for awards and things like that. But was this the first book you wrote, or just the first book you published?
The first book I published.
Okay.
Not the first one I wrote.
Yeah,
And
I know.
I just want
I was just
to jump in real quick and say Diana's books are on Amazon, right? I see somebody asking that question. So definitely pop over to
yes.
Amazon and grab Diana's book.
Your
So-
new
Thanks.
one.
I didn't see the comments. I don't see.
Your new one is
Oh,
KU,
wow.
right?
Yes, it's in KU.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. So grab it in
Okay.
KU. Yeah. And so this
I don't know why I'm
story
not seeing
is
yeah.
a version of this story. I started the very first version of this story was the very first book I wrote, and it was YA. You can imagine.
Oh, really? Are you serious?
Yeah,
It's YA?
it was YA, and it was about
Wow.
halfway through the book. I was like, yeah, this is not YA. You know, and then
This is taking a turn. It's dark.
Yeah. And so then I thought, you know what? I want that experience of finishing a book. And so I just kept going anyway and finished it, and then turned around and restarted it. Like literally finished it, the YA version one day, and then started this version another day.
Okay.
And then wrote this one, and then spent like a year editing it. And there was something wrong with it. And I just couldn't figure out what. And so I moved on then to Lathan's story.
Okay.
And then after I wrote Lathan's story, I realized what was wrong with this one and came back and rewrote it for a third time. So this is the third version of the book, like rewrote it completely, you know. So
And
this is the third.
This was one of your Golden Heart finals, correct?
Lathan's book was the Golden Heart one.
Oh, okay.
Lathan's book was the Golden Heart one. Yeah.
But this is the one that sold the source books first.
Actually, Lathan's book sold the source books first.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so confused.
Yeah,
Because I thought I knew everything about your books.
Yeah, she read, I think, the first 10 pages of Lathan's book and then she offered me a 3-book deal after reading 10 pages, which was a little scary.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's funny. You write kind of dark, like, you know, that's part of your thing. Abbie's Dangerously Dark Darlings.
Stop
But you also
calling the kettle black here. Come
I
on.
know. Well, you're on the hot seat today, so. But even so, you have a lot of positive messages in your books, and I have to ask you. So, what does focus forward mean to you?
Oh, that's a great question.
Oh gosh, that is, Diana. Man, you're making
It's a
me
hard
think.
question.
Sorry.
Yeah. Wow. You know, focus forward, I think, has good and bad qualities to it, because I think in this book, Gran used it in a way to ignore dealing with the past. So I feel like focus forward was not the best advice in this book. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. However, I think there are situations in our regular lives where focusing forward is probably better than either being right here, right now, or going and looking at the past. So sometimes just moving forward is the best option, but I don't think it's always the best option. So
right, especially being a mental health counselor, I'm sure you have seen the damage of not dealing with your past.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, every day.
That's a good question, Diana.
That was a very good one, Diana. Like, nobody has ever asked me that before.
Oh, wow. I feel so honored. Yay. And, you know, we do have some questions from people in the group, because people were asking questions before this. So I grabbed a couple. Oh. So Diane Jewell asks, what are you reading? Book, ebook, or audio? I guess she wants to know what you're reading and if it's a book, an ebook, or an audio.
I do all three. I listen to audiobooks, I read paperbacks, and I'll I read Kindle books. Right now, I've got Jennie's book, you know, that's in paper. Audio wise, last audiobook I listened to was Lori Foster's The Dangerous One.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I don't think I have one lined up yet that I've started. I've been into podcasts for the moment. And then on my Kindle, what am I reading right now? I just I got one from Amanda Zook, Natalie's Temptation, I think it was. So I was gonna try to read her book. That was my next in line there. Amanda Zook. Yeah.
Someone asks, is there a genre you haven't written yet that you would like to try?
Paranormal, probably.
That makes sense.
Ooh, yeah.
I've got an idea for a paranormal.
Oh, that's exciting. Can you share?
So your books all have a very, very slight paranormal element to them, but they're not considered paranormal, right?
You know, some readers consider them paranormal because of that little bit of paranormal bend, but when I was unpublished and was submitting to contests, every time I'd submit to the paranormal, there'd be at least one judge who'd say, this isn't paranormal, you know, and I would get scored really low. But when I submitted to romantic suspense, then I would final and get good scores and be finalist. So I think it's more romantic suspense, but it does have paranormal elements. And the series I'm writing right now is... I can just never write like one straight genre. It's like a thriller, but with like a lot of romance in it. So hopefully something good will happen there.
Well, one of the things I loved about this book the first time I read it, and it really struck me the second time I read it, is maybe this is why he's my favorite hero, his sense of sadness that he didn't listen to the voice in his head. Like he didn't listen to her voice. Mm-hmm. All those years she was being held, right? And he just kept dismissing it and walking away from it, drinking, whatever he did to get it away. But I thought the emotion of that was so powerful throughout the whole book. Once he realized, that was one of the things I absolutely love about this book. I think that's why he's my favorite hero. It's just because he has a lot internally to overcome of that kind of like that. He senses that he betrayed her, right? I mean, I guess that's the way you put it, but anyway, I loved that aspect of this book.
Yeah,
you really do have for Xander, don't you?
I do. I know. I'm telling you, he's number one. Lathan can be number two, maybe, or three. But
yeah, and I feel like too, like the thing with his dad, like how his dad just sort of like checked out on him when he was little, and just, I just feel like some parents nowadays just do not understand how important being present for their children is, and like, somebody else can feed and water them, but like they need your presence, and how that impacts your emotional health, as an adult.
That was interesting, really interesting. The father was almost like in a trance for all those years, and in the end, he really regretted not being there for his son. I thought that there's a little bit of redemption there for him, but I think Xander, because of that, has like a very direct, brutal way of dealing with the world, but he's also like, strangely, I found him so funny, like the way he would describe things. I mean, did you find yourself like just writing in his voice and laughing out loud sometimes?
No,
Because
honestly, I'm one of those people. It's like, I don't think anything I write is funny. And when people say that, I'm like, really? Like, what did you think was funny? Like,
I honestly, I really wish I had a couple lines now to read, because I can think of one, but I don't know the exact words, but
I think it's so funny. I wouldn't even call it humor, but it's just like a deadpan way of looking at things.
Right.
Right. That just makes you laugh. Like, because people don't do that, but you can see him doing that. But I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it, but I felt the same thing. And I think you could do it naturally, Abbie, because your books can be dark. And I think there's part of your writing style, I think you maybe not even realizing it, is a way of alleviating some of the tension that the dark stories carry, that you just have this underlying, I don't want to say sense of humor, but there's like a lightness underneath it that sometimes peeks through. And it's probably because you're not a dark person. Right? You write dark books, but you're not a dark person.
No, I like light things.
I know you do. You like donuts and duck runs. Like, I know you like
Yes.
happy things.
Yes. But I also like true crime and all the dark stuff too. So I think it's like this weird, like almost opposites that I like, because I literally am at work just like so bright-sided and happy and stuff, like laughy with clients. Like therapy's not boring and sad in my office, and then I come home and write all this death and bad stuff. And
I know, and you listen to these like true crime things and all the dark, scary things.
Yeah.
What's your favorite true crime podcast or show?
I rotate between so many different ones. Right now I've been into a lot of legal ones just with all the stuff happening in the country. So I've been in a lot of legal stuff, but True Crime Garage is literally like they're in Columbus, which is just like an hour from me. So I sort of gravitate towards them a lot because they're kind of nearby.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, True Crime Garage. It's like two guys supposedly sitting in their garage drinking beers, talking true crime.
Oh, neat.
They have a beer of the week every week. And
do you listen to the paranormal ones? Like, do you like the paranormal ones?
Some of those I feel like are corny, so I don't listen to those. But like, I've got one I've been listening to, Sword and Scale Nightmares, and that's scary. It is. It's really good. It's. Yeah, so there's been a couple I've been like, oh, damn, I can feel that percolating in there for some future something that's going to pop out, so yeah, Sword and Scale Nightmares has been the one I've been into the most lately.
I love we can get inspiration from so many different places. Actually, Caroline Jenkins asks, where do you get your inspiration for your characters?
Xander, the inspiration I think came from that Lichtenberg fractal pattern scarring thing that I saw, and Isleen, I don't even know. It's been so long. I don't remember where her inspiration came from, And I feel like the first two books in the series are very male. Like he was my main character. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like I know him better than I know her, so and then for Lathan in Broken Dreams, I can tell you exactly where his inspiration came from. I was at a counselor workshop, and we're usually sadly a frumpy group of people. Like we are not the attractive, we are not the trend setting. We're like frumpy old ladies and frumpy old men and kitty cat shirts. And it's not an attractive group of people normally. And so I was sitting in a workshop in like this giant room, and I was just sitting there. I'm sitting in the back, because like I hate being around people sometimes because I'm an introvert. And I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden I look over, and this gorgeous guy walks in wearing a motorcycle jacket and carrying a helmet. And I was just like, what? He's a counselor? Like, like, oh my God, And so I was just watching him, and he went and sat in the very front of the room, right next to the podium. And there was a lady who was sitting across from him. And I thought, that's so weird where he's sitting, because we're sitting at tables, and he's sitting sort of right next to the presenter, not even looking at him, just next to him, but down a little. And there's a lady sitting across from him, and I'm like, that's a weird set. But all of a sudden she started signing, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's deaf, Oh, wow. And I could not tell you what that workshop was about. All I did the whole time was just watch him and her sign. I was just fascinated with him and her signing. He had just this masculine way of using his fingers to sign, and I was just transfixed. And that's Lathan. That's how Lathan got born.
Did you ever meet him?
I never met him. I'm shy, and he was too good looking, and there's no way and I'm married, and
yeah, but you could at least say, hey, hello, something like
that's Sharon's line. Hey.
That's great, Sharon. That's the perfect pickup line. Yeah.
I'm an introvert as well, and I go to librarian conferences, and I bet Abbie and I could, compete on what those are like.
Yeah.
Too funny. So Debbie Mills asks, what's your writing process? Do you write one draft and just change it, or multiple drafts and then Frankenstein it?
Yeah, it's Frankenstein all the way, baby. No.
Yeah.
Usually I edit as I go normally. And so by the time I'm done with a draft, it takes me a long time, but it's a fairly clean draft.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go through and tweak little things here and there, but usually by the time I'm done, it's a fairly clean draft. But like I said, I'm editing as I go. So I might write chapter 1, but then I might edit it 10 times before I move on to chapter 2.
Right.
And then usually my process is like, if I sat down to write tonight, I'm going to read the past 2 chapters I wrote, edit them to catch up to where I need to start writing new words, write the new words, and then the next night sit down, go back 2 chapters, read those, edit those, and then write a new scene or whatever. And that's just sort of my process.
So how long did it typically take you
to write a book?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have no good gauge of this, because
the same way.
Yeah.
Because the pandemic, I feel like threw everything off. Like Dangerous Dreams and Broken Dreams took probably about a year each. Saving Mercy, which will be Defying Evil, was like maybe 7 months. It came out quicker and easier. This series I'm writing now is coming out quicker and easier, maybe 6-7 months each book. But like I said, like I started writing this new book, but then like pandemic happened and like I couldn't write at all. And now the pandemic's over and I'm really at it. And it's just hard to.
And did you post? I think I saw on Facebook or something that you are only going to put the series out when all 3 books are done.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow!
I didn't see that.
I don't work well under pressure. I am not somebody who will go, like, I can panic mode and just bam it all. Panic mode freezes me up and I can't do it. Like, I just can't work. I can't think. Yeah. I can't write. And so I would rather get all 3 books done. They're done. And so I don't have no panic mode happening, and just go on to the next series while those 3 are being published.
Okay.
So
that's a great idea.
Yeah. I just can't function under stress for some reason.
And when were you planning on putting them out, or you don't know yet?
Well, my agent's shopping them at the moment, so hopefully. But I don't know. Romantic suspense ain't doing much in traditional publishing at the moment, so it's not looking hopeful.
Yeah.
Well, you never know.
Our fingers are crossed.
Yeah. Trust. Abbie, what was it like going? I mean, the original versions of these books you wrote so long ago, when you republished them, what was it like rereading them? Like, were you like horrified, or were you like, oh my gosh, this is really good?
No.
Or did you remember, were there things you forgot?
I am not I know a lot of writers write their books and they never want to go back and read them again, but I have reread my books many times, between when they're published and now, because I enjoy my own books, which sounds, they say write what you want to read, and I did write what I wanted to read, and so, and I don't put a book out until I love every bit of it, so there's not a part of it that I'm like, oh, I put a book out because I love every bit of it. If I didn't love it, I just couldn't put it out. So I love it all. There are parts of it I'm like, damn, I came up with that. That's pretty good, I mean, because I'm sure you guys have had that experience too, where you're reading something you wrote and you're like, wow, I don't even remember writing that, but that's good.
Yeah, it does happen. And it's just kind of eerie that you don't even remember when you wrote it.
No, and I was like, how did I string that together? That sounds so good,
So how do you decide what the next book is going to be about if you're writing in a series? Or do you have, I assume you're doing 3 books for the next series. Do you have the arc over the 3 books in your head, or do you just do the first one and the second one and then tie them together?
this 3-book series that I'm writing right now, it's 3 books with the same characters.
Oh, okay.
So this is a little different than, because in my other series, it's always been like a new couple for each book.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's a lot. That's typical romance. So yeah.
Yeah, and this series is 3 books, and it's the kind of series that if an agent or an editor wants it, could go longer.
Is that like?
Mm.
Is it like
fun.
the Julie's books, the Moonlight and Memories, that type of book?
No, they're not sad like hers. They're like a
Okay.
thriller, but with romance. There's a love triangle in there.
Okay.
And there's all sorts of like juicy wonderfulness, and then awful terrible things happen, and it's about a female podcaster who's researching a cold case about a paperboy who went missing in the 90s, and she's thinking it's just a cold case that nobody's really ever done anything with, and what she discovers is that the case is actually very hot, and there are people who do not want her to be researching this. So yeah.
And I think that answers Andrew's question, and he asked, what's the new book about? Or maybe he means the next book in the series.
Well, Dangerous Dreams, if you're asking about Dangerous Dreams, because I did see him ask that under Dangerous Dreams post. I don't know, what is Dangerous Dreams about? It's like in one of those elevator pitches where I don't know, don't ask me, And I'll just give you the tagline. It's a cult, a kidnapped woman, and a man who's determined to find her.
Oh, I love kidnap stories. I mean, in fiction.
Yeah, in fiction. Yes.
Yeah, in fiction.
In fiction.
Well, one day, Abbie, I have I grew up in a neighborhood where we had a serial killer, and it was the Paperboy. And
my gosh! Seriously?
Yeah, it took a year and a half to find out, and he was young. He was like 18. Yeah, one day I'll tell you all the gory details, but it was scary. It was really scary, and they happened like in my next, like 1 block over, like like behind my parents' house.
Oh
and it was and I was little though, so I remember the fear of the adults, but I didn't understand, and that made it that much scarier.
Oh my gosh, Sharon, you were we and I need to totally.
She always, mild-mannered Sharon always comes out with
I didn't do it.
Stuff.
It's just that happened to my neighborhood.
She wasn't the serial killer. Just
no. But I mean, she always just drops something out there. It's like, okay, yeah, there was a serial killer in my neighborhood. He was over on the next block.
I guess, they never technically called him a serial killer, but I would think that multiple victims means serial. Yeah, I could be wrong. There might be a more formal definition. But what was scary was that he used to come. I lived in the mountains, and we had a bus stop, and we all knew him, and he would come and kind of talk to us while we were waiting to get on the bus. The little kids were waiting to get on the bus.
Oh, that's freaky.
It was creepy. And we didn't know, and then I didn't know for years afterwards, like the parents kind of squashed,
sheltered you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Hey, I see a Facebook user, and I'm sorry, it's not showing your name on my end, but it says it sounds like the Johnny Gosh case in here in Iowa. That's exactly what it's based on.
What's that? What's the Johnny Gosh case?
The Johnny Gosh case. The Johnny Gosh case is a paper boy was out delivering papers one morning, and it was like a morning where his dad was going to go with him, but his dad decided to sleep in, and he goes and he picks up his papers, and then he wheels off into the night because it was still, I think, dark out. And then all of a sudden he's gone. He disappears.
No, that's terrible. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And the only way his parents knew he was missing was people started calling his house and asking, where's my paper? And so the dad thinks, well, maybe he slept in, or maybe he's, off doing something. So the dad goes, finds his wagon, finishes delivering the papers, comes home, and he finds he's not there. And then they start calling around, and this is the creepy part. They start calling around everybody. Nobody's seen him, so they call all their friends. They call the police, and the police say, well, he has to be missing 24 hours or 48 hours before we'll take. And that used to be law enforcement had a different law, like where kids had to be missing 24 hours or 48 hours before they would do anything. And so the police wouldn't do anything. And so the parents gathered everybody together to go search. And then the sheriff pulled in and said, nobody's searching, everybody go home. And so So nobody searched, because the sheriff said he would arrest everybody if they did. And then what happened was, by the time the 48 hours was up, there was no crime scene, because the crime scene was where the papers were, where the dad found the wagon, and he just grabbed the wagon and delivered all the papers. And so there was just sort of like, he was gone, he was vanished. And this is my sort of like spin on all the crazy. No, never been found.
Never been found.
Never been found. There's a lot of crazy conspiracy stories, and some of that I have like incorporated into this book, but like it's like a work of fiction. But that inspired me because my husband was a paper boy when he was like little, and his brother had a route, and his brother decided he didn't want to do it, so he took over his brother's route, and he'd be out like all hours of the day and night, deliver morning papers and night papers all by his little self, you know. So
that's
like,
right, there were evening papers back then. Yeah, I remember the evening papers.
Yeah, wow. So that just sort of stuck in my head, like, it is.
When did that happen?
I want to say that was like in the mid 80s is when the Johnny Gosch thing happened. Yeah, it's a really fascinating true crime story if you want to look into true crime. Like, it is really fascinating, and there's like a lot of.
I feel like I know this story now.
There's a lot of.
Me.
There's a lot of really interesting conspiracy stuff, you know. With it too, and just a lot of leads that weren't followed, like really leads that weren't followed, and you know, stuff. So it's a very sad case that they never did find him.
So is that the kind of thing that first inspired you to start writing? Was it some sort of, you know, something got in your head and created another story? And what if this had happened, you know, differently? Is that how you first started writing?
You know, I really wanted to be a writer when I was little, like really little. Like when I first started to learn how to read, I wanted to be a writer. But then as I got older, I was really bad at grammar. And I had a teacher, and I had nobody really encouraging me to be a writer, by no means. And I had a teacher tell me, if you can't do grammar, then you can't be a writer. Wow. And I would try so hard. Like, I really would try so hard. Yeah. And I would study and try to figure out grammar. And it's just one of those things that if you start talking grammar words, like something in my brain happens, you know, and I can't understand it and I can't get it. And so when she said that to me, like, if you can't do grammar, then you can't be a writer. It's like, I was like, oh, okay, that means I can't be a writer. And so I just sort of like completely abandoned that until I was like about 35. And then I realized, you know, I'm not happy. Yeah. And then I kind of really had a talk with myself, and I was like, why aren't I happy? You know, I have everything. I have a great job, a great husband, a great life. Like, why am I not happy? And that was the reason I wasn't writing.
That creative energy.
Yeah.
Needs to be acknowledged. Well, I'm so glad that you did start writing.
And your grammar's great.
Yeah.
Well, I've learned
You figured it out.
Yeah.
I've learned some, but you know, I still have this bad habit when I pause to think, I accidentally hit the comma. So it's like random commas all through everything I write. Because it's like every time I pause to think, I don't know why I hit a comma.
Your teacher obviously never heard of editors.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Oh man. So this is something that I wanted to ask you. July 4th, for is Islene's? Okay, birthday. Why that day?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know. I don't think I really had. I didn't have any much of a.
We were kind of looking for a profound answer here, like some kind of
profound answer. My sister's birthday is the 3rd. Like maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I don't know. I just sort of like that idea of. I mean, we've all seen that love, like the book that ends with a kiss and fireworks in the background.
Yeah.
I just sort of maybe thought that was like a, you know, cliche, nice way to end it.
Abbie, do you like to set your? I mean, you have it. I mean, when you have a specific feel for your books, but is there a season? Like, do you like them set in like summer, late summer, early fall?
I don't care.
You don't care?
I don't care. I don't really care what season they're in. I can do just about anything as long as it's mostly Ohio, because that's what I know. And I feel like if I step out of Ohio, then I'm starting to get into things I don't know.
Okay.
You know, and so.
Yeah, that's scary. You're writing about a place you've never been.
Yeah, and like you can Google
Syria in my first book. I'm like, oh God, you know, place I've never
Yeah, and
been.
like you can Google, a lot and find out a
Mhm.
lot, but then, when you actually ask people, then there's a difference between what Google is saying and what they're saying. And they live there. And so I would trust
Mhm.
them more than I do Google. And, I just feel like it gets messy for me, and I admire writers who can like write, like Syria and like places that I've never been and, stuff. But I just feel more comfortable, at least being in Ohio.
I just
So
saw
if you,
that. Oh, go ahead, Diane.
I was going to say, so if you had to write this paranormal book, would you set that in Ohio, and would it be some sort of quirky town where everyone has like superpowers, or?
No, it would be in Ohio, and the superpower it would be a lot like my books now. It's like this normal world where there's just somebody who's got this weird thing, and he finds his girl that has a weird thing that complements his weird thing. And
Like the
I
Wonder
don't,
Twins, wasn't it?
yeah,
Do you remember the Wonder Twins?
but I truly think one of these days I'm gonna have a time, and I might just make a novella out of it, because it's got a touch me and die kind of vibe to it.
Mm.
And I don't want to say too much about it because it's kind of a really weird idea, but you know how my ideas are, they're all weird, right?
When I was doing research for another book, and I was looking up at the most haunted areas, and Ohio like is in the top 10, if not in the top 5. Like I was really, really surprised that Ohio, and like some of the scariest and darkest hauntings take place in Ohio. Like if you separate, like the top are like New Orleans, Salem, Charleston, Savannah, like those areas with all the prisons and stuff like that. And Chicago. But beyond that, like Ohio is in the very top. And I always thought that's odd. Like what's going on in Ohio that is one of the most haunted state? Like it's got some of the most severe hauntings, like paranormal events in the country.
Right. And when we used to, our first house that we bought together was an 1890s Victorian. And the family, the guy who built it owned a department store in our town, back in the day, like way, way back. And so the house was built in 1890. And so he lived there until he died. And then his daughter lived there until she died. And then we were the second owners of the house. And so we were in bed, maybe within our first year of living there, we were in our bed, and my husband woke up and he swore her name was Isabel Sutherland. And he said she was standing in our bedroom doorway watching us.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
And like, I never saw it, but like, he swears that he saw her standing in our bedroom doorway watching us. So
wow, that's pretty creepy.
How long did you live in that house?
We love that house. Yeah, we love that house. We lived there 8 years.
Oh wow.
8 years. And then we moved out to the country. If we could have picked up that house and moved it out to the country, we would have. But it was such a big old Victorian. But it literally, when we walked in the doors, when we were looking for houses, we walked in the foyer, we walked in the front door, got 2 steps in, looked at each other and said, "This is the one."
Really?
Like we
and the ghost didn't sour you on that house?
We loved that house, like wholeheartedly loved that house. And the only reason
you guys are a hoot. That cracks me up. It's like, ghost, whatever.
Yeah, no big deal. And like the house, like across our backyard was another house, and it was like the side of the house, like the front faced a street, like we were on a corner, and so the back of our house faced the side of this other house. It was like across our yard. And one night in our bedroom, we had the sitting room, and it was all windows, like the whole back of it was like windows on 2 sides, and it was like a lovely, lovely room. And so one night it was dark out, and I just kind of walked up to the window and was just sort of standing there, looking down on the yard. And then I look up, and there's a man standing in the window just staring at me. And that just creeped me out.
Oh my
gosh. That's pretty creepy.
That's creepy.
Yeah. And then I've since been on a ghost tour that took me by our house to that house and said that house, so many people had haunted experiences in that house.
The one next to you. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty bizarre. You lived in a haunted street. That wasn't just a haunted house. some things going on. I want to get this person's question. Abbie, does your husband read your books?
How do you say this? He's got a little bit of ADD, and so he has a hard time sitting and like reading, but he has listened to all the ones that are on audio, and then he proofread Capturing Fate, because I think because he does not read much, like actual books much, he is eagle-eyed at spotting like missing words and stuff like that. So he proofread Capturing Fate. So
Are you going to change that cover too?
yeah, I'm going to change the cover because I got to get a new cover for Saving Mercy. It's going to be retitled Defying Evil, and so are you going to retitle Capturing Fate, or just it'll keep the same title? Okay, I love that cover though. I do too. I love all the old covers. I do too. I loved the what was the one with the couple? Never Let Me Fall. I love that one too. That was a beautiful.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
So, in this Beautiful Nightmare series, which book is your favorite?
I would say Lathan's story is my favorite.
Oh, okay.
Broken
And that's
Dreams.
the first one you got published, or you got a contract for.
Yeah. That one won a lot of contests. They both won. That one and Dangerous Dreams won and finaled in a lot of contests.
Yeah, well, it won the Daphne, didn't it?
I think
it did. I think I was there.
Did it win that?
I thought you won the
I don't even.
I think we
The
were together.
Lathan's is Broken Dreams, right?
Yeah.
Broken Dreams?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's sad because there were so many contests, and Sharon and I, we were both unpublished at the same time, so we'd be entering the same contests, and we would both final at the same time. So, so it'd be like Sharon would win or I would win. I think Sharon won more than I did, but I think you did.
But I never won a Golden Heart. Like I never won
a Golden Heart. I just finaled. But like I remember one time thinking, who is this Sharon Wray? Like she's always beating me in every contest.
Yeah, but you got published first, so it all evens out.
Yeah. And it's funny we got published with the same person though.
I know. And I remember when I got my call, I was so happy because I was going to be working like with your editor. Like that's one of the reasons why I said yes to that offer, because I knew I'd be working with your editor. And I loved your books. And I thought if Deb could do that for your books, hopefully she could do that for my books. So
yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so I think we have time for maybe one more question before we have to go. And if no one here is asking, I'm going to ask one.
Okay.
So I have to know about the ending. Now, did you have this planned out before, or did it just naturally this is the way it's going to end? Or did you know in advance that this is the ending?
Of Dangerous Dreams?
Yeah.
I'm a pantser, so I do nothing. I had no idea that any of this was going to happen.
And how do you do that? How do you weave it all together?
I have no idea either. I just like the part where King takes her and he drives off with her and he pulls over somewhere and he's wiping her face, and I was literally just typing away, and then he says her face was his face, and I was like, what? What? He's her dad? Like I had no idea that he was going to be her dad. Like I had no idea. And then I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, what?
Twist.
What did I just do? So,
I love that. Oh man.
And that's what I enjoy about writing is those because I love those surprise moments. Those are my writer high. Those are things I love writing for.
So you just let your character, you don't ever have to corral your characters because your characters are just in charge.
They just go wherever and do whatever they want. Yep. They just, Yeah, and I had no idea she was going to end up in, was it called the demon box or whatever? That was
horrifying.
Yeah, just all of a sudden, like, let's put her in a...
Yeah, you know some scary stuff.
That was pretty horrible, I have to say. But it was fun. All's well that ends well. And you delivered for your romance readers, and
And then
I love that book.
And the
So
next one
I'm
comes
looking
out in a
forward to
month,
the
right?
next.
Next one,
What?
next month. The next one comes out in a month.
Yeah, it's May 9th. It's coming
Okay.
very
Oh, in
soon.
a couple days.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Ooh, I did
nice.
the covers. Did Brenda do the covers?
Yeah, she did. They're
They're
just
great.
beautiful
They're
covers.
beautiful.
They are
aren't they?
beautiful.
And I think like with the flowers and then like a saw, like doesn't that just like
Oh, I
give
know.
you
Yeah, it's so
eerie
perfect for
vibes?
you because it's beautiful and then a little creepy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
So,
Well,
okay, ladies, what are we reading next month?
what are we reading?
What are we reading?
We're so excited to have another one of our founding authors in the book club for May. We're reading Jennie Marts.
I don't have mine in front of me.
Every Bit a Cowboy. Okay.
She's got great
cannot
covers
wait.
too.
This is a great cover.
That's
Yeah.
a great cover.
You see that guy? That's adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those blues in there for
Yeah,
some reason.
yeah.
That blue
I
is just a
know.
gorgeous blue. It just makes the whole cover
Love it.
pop.
Yeah, for sure. So next time Jennie will definitely be here. We missed her this time, but thanks to everyone for stopping by. We had so much fun as always. Have a great night and a great weekend. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for coming.